further behind in the Transatlantic Challenge. The score going into race 7, the penultimate, you remember, was 256 to 140 in Britain's favour. But the big question was, who could live with the Americans, who'd won 4 out of the 6 races so far? We're just going to join our commentators Chris Carter and Peter Clifford.
So the riders on the grid, and the news is that Ron Haslam will be riding Roger Marshall's Rothmans Honda machine. Marshall injured in an earlier spill, and that means that Haslam has at last a competitive bike. The British team, of course, pulling further and further away in the points table. 256 against 140. The same grid positions as they've had since the practice sessions. That means that Paul Itten is closest to us. Fred Merkel, Steve Parrish. On the far side of the grid is Kenny Irons. All eyes on the traffic lights, and away they go on the Shell Oil's Transatlantic Challenge. 7th leg. And looking to see Merkel there. Kenny Irons on the extreme right of the picture, and it's going to be Kevin Schwantz and Kenny Irons. So America will bring Fred Merkel on the inside, and he's going to try and cut through on the inside to join Schwantz, but Kenny Irons holds him off. It's Kevin Schwantz, the leader. Schwantz, the leader. This is the view that Roger Burnett sees as he carts his way through on the inside of one of the riders. But he loses a position to Rob McElnay on the Marlboro Yamaha. The camera mounted on Roger Burnett's Rothmans Honda machine out on the first lap of this, the 7th team race between Britain and America. There's no way the Americans can possibly win this contest, but certainly they've been absolutely superb. The Americans have been superb in defeat. And the news is that Chris Martin, one of the British boys on the Skull Bandit Suzuki, is already out of this race after less than a lap. Back now from our cameras, watching the action from the side of the track as Kevin Schwantz leads from Fred Merkel and 29, that's Sam McDonnell, one of the Americans. He's out of the action. Kenny Irons, Rob McElnay, Michel Mercier, another name up in the leading bunch. And it's desperate stuff as they go through the S's, and Fred Merkel looking for a way through. And people finding that it's very slippery out there. Kevin Schwantz and Merkel, though, having no problems as they come round Goddard's on to the old section of the circuit, winding the power on. It's the end of the first lap. Schwantz the leader, Fred Merkel in 2nd place, Americans 1st and 2nd. Behind is Kenny Irons for Britain and Rob McElnay. Then comes Roger Burnett, waiting to see where Ron Haslam is, and of course Haslam has not had a chance to learn his way round on this particular motorcycle. And into the pits comes Graham McGregor. We're back with the leaders on this 2nd lap. Kevin Schwantz leader, Fred Merkel in 2nd place.
And it's very, very tricky conditions here because there are drying patches of road, but it's still damp a lot of the way around, and these guys will not be using their full wet weather tyres, but will be either on slicks or cut slicks, intermediate tyres, and this makes it difficult for them because when they run across the wet patches it's very slippery.
And they're the 2 leaders. Rob McElnay and now up into 3rd place, Kenny Irons. Then Steve Parrish going through, Dan Chivington behind. Merkel 1st and 2nd, McElnay, Kenny Irons, and just behind Roger Burnett is Michel Mercier, then Steve Parrish, Dan Chivington, one of the Americans. There is Paul Itten, Dale Quarterly going through, and Ron Haslam in the middle of that group. Bringing up the rear of the field at the moment, Johnny Betancourt, one of the colourful characters of the American team. He's not really had the best of Transatlantic Challenge, but Betancourt, the last man at the moment, he has been the life and soul of the American party. 2 laps gone. Schwantz, the leader from Fred Merkel, and McElnay beginning to charge. Kenny Irons in 4th place, then Burnett closing.
And as we're watching number 4, Rob McElnay, he's probably got the right tyres on for the first time this weekend, because he's only got the cut slicks, which are really welcome for these conditions. The track drying all the time.
And the gap between 2nd place man Fred Merkel and 3rd place man Rob McElnay there in your picture, just over 2 seconds, but McElnay putting on the pressure. McElnay, of course, signed by Giacomo Agostini to go and race in the Grand Prix team, along with Eddie Lawson in this year's 500cc World Championship. And McElnay, really one of the most talented riders, and McElnay is getting closer to the Americans. Schwantz the leader, Merkel in 2nd place. Schwantz, number 34. Number 1, Fred Merkel. There is number 4, Robert McElnay. And the Americans would be leading by 36 points to 30 if they finished in this order. And there's Chris Martin, who had problems on the early lap, and he rejoined the race, and Chris Martin has taken a tumble, but as you can see, perfectly okay. Back with the race leaders, Kevin Schwantz, having stretched an advantage from Fred Merkel, and Merkel, very shortly, I suspect, will come under pressure from Rob McElnay. Where is McElnay? Here he comes. And McElnay getting closer, definitely. Kenny Irons having a fine weekend in 4th place.
And McElnay, number 4 on the Mulberry Yamaha, will have Merkel well in his sights now, but he'll be thinking twice about pouncing on him too quickly, because they had some fairing-banging, elbow-banging moments the last time they clashed in an earlier race, and McElnay wasn't too pleased with Merkel's tactics. McElnay says he's got more important things to think about with the 500 Grand Prix World Championship ahead of him, but certainly his competitive instincts will be leading him to attack Merkel as soon as he can see a clear way through.
Schwantz the leader, Fred Merkel in 2nd place, McElnay in pursuit in 3rd spot. Taking a slightly wider line than Merkel, and McElnay still putting on the pressure, just pulling them in yard by yard. We'll run the stopwatch next time through. And you can see to the naked eye that McElnay is getting closer.
And Schwantz's bike seems to be squirming around a lot. I wonder if he's made a wrong choice of tyre. Perhaps he's got wet tyre or too soft a compound, and it's starting, the tyres may be starting to overheat.
Schwantz in front, Merkel in 2nd place. These 2 Americans have been a real revelation to British fans this weekend in the Shell Oil's Transatlantic Challenge. Rob McElnay, in comparison, has been almost subdued. McElnay had scored only 36 points from his 6 team races prior to this race, and that isn't really the sort of form we expected from the British captain. Schwantz in the lead, Merkel 2nd. And there's McElnay in the picture.
And as the track is drying out and becoming more predictable, the loose and wild antics that these 2 displayed in earlier races seem to have largely disappeared at the moment anyway. Riding much more controlled manner.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how Merkel and Schwantz attack the situation when they're under pressure from McElnay. At the end of the 4th lap, Kevin Schwantz the leader, Fred Merkel 2nd, then Rob McElnay, then Kenny Irons in 4th place, Michel Mercier, the French-Canadian, in 5th spot, in 6th spot Steve Parrish, 7th is number 53, which is Dan Chivington, and in 8th spot is number 5, Ron Haslam. So Haslam moving up through the field, 16th on the opening lap. And Steve Parrish passes Michel Mercier to regain a place and score more points for his team. Mercier is a man who's improved, and really we've now got a difficult situation because we hear that it's pouring with rain on the other side of the circuit, and that really is not a nice thing to find when you go storming into a corner.
No, it's really the very, very worst conditions. You have no way of knowing what's happening. You just arrive at the corner and suddenly the road that was dry last lap is soaking wet, and they are the worst possible things you can imagine.
There is Kenny Ives just coming out of the picture, and Steve Parrish under pressure from Michel Mercier, number 61. Here is the race leader. Now he's going to find this wet track very shortly, and he found it. But he didn't ease off at all. I don't know what you've got to do to Kevin Schwantz to frighten him. We saw those incidents in yesterday's race when he was off the bike near a Stammet, and Schwantz just doesn't, nothing phases this young man. Kevin Schwantz, the leader, he now knows that the track is wet, and he's gonna, I don't know what he's gonna do, but he's going to ignore slides like that, Peter. That's what he's going to do.
Yes, it doesn't seem to worry him at all. He's got the rain pouring down on his visor now. He knows it's raining, and yet he still keeps the power on. The back end slides. It doesn't upset him in the slightest.
Into the S's.
It's the old adage, I suppose, that you can't beat a confident man. And if there's one thing it is, this man is very, very confident. Confident in his own ability.
He's got every reason to be confident. He is come over here and take this competition by the scruff of the neck. America would win this leg 36 points to 30 if they keep the positions they have at the moment. The sun comes out over the start and finish straight, but the track is still going to be wet and difficult. Round Gollards, another lap almost completed by Kevin Schwantz. This is the last lap, and the challenge from Rob McElnay has faded. No sign yet. There it comes McElnay. They've pulled away from him without a shadow of a doubt. And Kevin Schwantz and Fred Merkel. And this is going to put some pressure on Roger Burnett. Try and check where Burnett is at the moment. In fact, he's not in the running. And that, of course, means that Burnett won't score any points to add to his tally. And I think Kevin Schwantz is not only going to win more races than anyone else, he's going to go home with a £5,000 for overall top scorer. This is Fred Merkel in second place. And just watch the celebrations from this pair at the end of this race. They love to race, but more than love to race, they love to win. Merkel looks over his shoulder and sees that the threat from McElnay has evaporated.
Very, very good riding from Merkel, because he's run a captain's race, certainly. He's seen Schwantz is a little bit quicker, maybe his machine's a little bit quicker, and he hasn't gone desperately all out to win. He's accepted the fact that it's much better for the team that they finish first and second.
No, it is impressive, Merkel's performance. I think even he would be prepared to admit that he does have quite a considerable ego, but that ego doesn't require him to have to win all the races. Melbourne hairpin, the climb up the hill, and the Americans look as though they're going to win this particular race and once again take first and second place, and maybe win it on points as well. So Kevin Schwantz, a big wheelie from Schwantz, another victory. Second, Fred Merkel, a king-size wheelie again, and they're relatively subdued this time. Schwantz gives the victory sign to the fans as he goes round the circuit, punches the air in celebration. Third place, Rob McElnay, and really that is likely to mean that the British team have been beaten in this particular one. So there we go, confirmation of the results. Kevin Schwantz the winner, Fred Merkel second, America first and second, and Rob McElnay third.
Well, they just seem unstoppable, don't they, Barry? Can you see Kevin Schwantz going into Grand Prix riding, or is he going to stick with this?
No, I think you'll find he'll go into Grand Prix. He's going to Italy on Tuesday to talk to Cagiva, that have got a very good 500 Grand Prix bike. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if he doesn't sign up with Cagiva. He'll definitely end up riding Grand Prix.
So he could be the new Kenny Roberts,
well, he
or
could.
Freddie Spencer or whatever.
Easily, because judging by the way he's ridden this weekend, it's the first time he's raced in Europe. And it takes a lot of skill to ride in the rain and the damp, and they've shown what they're made of. Very, very good.
Very quickly, Merkel, is he going to stick with the superbikes, do you think?
I think so, just in the States, and probably at the end of next year he may come over into Europe.
All right, Barry, well, on Saturday, you may remember,